Hi guys, I'm Kristen and this is Kristen is Fully Booked. Today I'm going to be sharing all of the books that are currently on my radar. This is my much looser version of a TBR video. However, today I do have some books that are much more of a sure thing than I have focused on in past Radar Reads videos. So I have divided all of the books that I'm going to be mentioning today into certain categories. So I have some of my commitments, the books that I'm definitely going to be reading the next couple months. I also have some books that are new releases that are coming out in the next couple months that I would really like to be able to get to as soon as possible. And then the final category of books are just all of the books that are currently on my radar that I would like to get to ideally as soon as possible. Some of them I have on hold at the library and maybe some of them I'm going to get sooner than others, but essentially some of the books that I'm hoping to prioritize more in the upcoming months. We'll start with the commitments first, so all of the books that I'll definitely be reading in the next couple months. And here we'll start with Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb. This is the second book in the Farseer trilogy, and this is continuing on my buddy read with Maria. We are reading all of the books in the Realm of the Elderlings together. So we've already read Assassin's Apprentice, and we will be getting to Royal Assassin sometime soon, and then continuing on from there. Then we have The Emperor's Blade by Brian Staveley, as well as the whole Chronicles of the Unhewn trilogy. Alan from the channel Libraries of Alexandria is running a read-along called February of the Unhewn Throne, I believe. So in February, they're going to start with the first book in this trilogy and go on from there. So I haven't decided yet if I'll be rereading the first two books. I did read them in early 2020, so it's been a while, but I do remember quite a bit. So to be determined if I'll be reading the first two, but I'm definitely going to be joining in that read-along for the third book, The Last Mortal Bond, in April. This is a grimdark series following three siblings. They are the children of a king in this universe or world, and when the king is killed, all three siblings are sort of called back home to deal with this situation. Each of them has their own sort of thing. So the oldest, I believe, and the one who is supposed to be inheriting the throne has been actually training to be a monk. The other brother is training in the military. I believe this is like a hawk-based riding elite military. And the sister is more of a bureaucrat working actually in the system of like the government and ruling the country. The father dies unexpectedly and they believe that he's been murdered, and we kind of go from there. Next up, we have A Natural History of Dragons by Marie Brennan, and this is for my read-along. I'll do another small little plug here for the read-along that I'm going to be hosting along with Kate from the channel Kate Coy, Sarah from Bright and Bookish, Kristen from Kristen's Craves Books, and Maria from Tea Books Magic. We are all going to be hosting a Memoirs of Lady Trent read-along beginning in February. I will put the link for Sarah's Discord down below where we're going to be meeting to talk about that, as well as the date for the first live show that will be taking place here on my channel on March 2nd, I think 9 p.m. EST, and you can do all of the math for all of the other times. It'll be 3 in the morning on March 3rd for me. But anyway, Memoirs of Lady Trent, beginning with The Natural History of Dragons. Can't wait to get into the series and the books. So this is a 5-book series plus a companion piece. Follow Isabella's journey into becoming a famous dragon naturalist. But the books are actually her memoirs, so they're written from her perspective as if she's telling you the story of how she became this famous dragon naturalist. I have heard amazing things about just the character of Lady Isabella, so can't wait to get into this. I'm going to be listening to the audiobooks, which are narrated by Kate Redding. I've also heard amazing things about the audiobooks. And then the final book that I have here is Son of the Storm by Suyi Davies Okumbawa. This is a book that my local book club is going to be reading. This is a book that I saw on a lot of anticipated releases videos for 2021, but I haven't actually seen that many people talking about it. It is the start of a new epic fantasy series set in a world inspired by pre-colonial empires of West Africa, so very exciting for some different cultural representation here. I believe we follow a scholar who discovers a warrior who appears to have magic that shouldn't exist, and of course he gets sucked into something, hidden history, that sort of thing. Okay, that's it for my commitments. Now we'll get into the new releases that are coming out in the next couple months that I'm hoping to be able to get a copy of very early on. First one here is Age of Ash by Daniel Abraham. I am certain this book needs no introduction. I have seen a lot of people talking about it. It was also on my anticipated releases for 2021 book. At the time when I found this book, I read just the beginning like setup blurb where it's like, what was it? It had to do with the fact that this book or this trilogy is going to be written in a single city over the course of 1 year from many different perspectives. And I just thought that was so cool and I stopped reading. I didn't want to hear anything else about it. However, I have heard a lot more about it since then, and that is because a lot of other channels have been talking about it lately. I even watched Alan's review for this. Some of the things that I've been hearing make me more excited and some of the things make me less excited. So we'll see if I like this. It does come out on February 15th. I am going to set an alarm on my phone to go to my library that day and see if I can get early onto the library hold list for that book. But if I get sucked into the FOMO and everyone reading this book in the middle of February, I don't know, maybe I will get sucked in and buy a copy of the ebook. We'll see. Also on February 15th, we have House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas. This is the second book in the Crescent City series. I'm actually really looking forward to this, although like my tolerance of Sarah J. Maas books really ebbs and flows depending on where we are. I think I'm just really tired of the ACOTAR series. But anyway, getting off track. Second book in Crescent City. I did really like House of Earth and Blood, and I'm currently doing a reread and I'm having just as much fun, if not more fun with it than I did when I first read it. It's very urban fantasy, but I think that the world that she's created is really cool and really unique. Bryce is a half fae, half human, and Hunt is an angel. Because of a connection to some past murders that took place, she is called in to help solve some murders that are happening that look very similar to ones that she was connected with in the past. If you have not read that book, I would recommend not reading the synopsis because I think that there's a certain thing that happens that will hit you a lot more if you don't read the synopsis. But where that book ended, it kind of really blew up the world and what was happening with like the magic and the politics and stuff in a very Sarah J. Maas leveling up kind of way. So the first book had like this really cool buddy cop mystery feel that I didn't think that I would like, but I actually really love. But I think that we're going like a little bit bigger and broader in our scope in the next book, but we'll see. Then on February 22nd, we have Last Exit by Max Gladstone. I do have an e-arc to this, so I will definitely be reading it hopefully before that date. This is a sci fantasy book that I am moderately intrigued by. It sounds like there is a multiple realities situation here, or multiple like worlds or universes. And in the past, our group of warriors were doing something to like beat back this rot, this black rot that is trying to unmake all of the worlds. And one of their members died. And then this is actually happening, I believe, 10 years after that, and it's like a getting the gang back together kind of a situation, which I am a sucker for. If you tell me there's a book with mature characters and it's a getting the gang back together kind of a setup, I am probably going to check that book out. I don't read a lot of sci-fi, but I am always open to reading more, and I think that a sci fantasy kind of a system is probably where I'm going to be the best, or where it's going to fit me the best for that. But anyway, we'll see. And then the final new release that I'm hoping to get to in the next couple months is All the Horses of Iceland by Sarah Tomey. This comes out on March 1st, and I also have an e-arc for this book as well. I was definitely not the only person that put this on my anticipated releases list for 2022. I saw this book everywhere in those videos. This is a historical fantasy with quote-unquote gorgeous and unusual literary prose that promises to tell the secret and imagined history of the horses in Iceland. I am trying to keep my excitement and expectations pretty moderate going into this book because the last historical fantasy with literary prose new release book that I read was She Who Became the Sun, and we all know that that one did not work for me. But for whatever reason, when I was reading the synopsis, I just really felt like I was connecting with the synopsis, with the feel of the story, and it did make me think a little bit of Guy Gabriel Kay. So we will see if this book works for me. I'm looking forward to getting to it. Okay, and then for the final category here is just all of the books that have been on my radar lately that I am interested in possibly getting to at some point. First book is Jade City by Fonda Lee. This is one of my priority series for this year. I have been waiting for so long to read this book. As of this morning, my library is telling me that I have 5 weeks remaining, so it's getting closer. It could be soon-ish. I have already put the other 2 books on hold at the library as well, so that if I am feeling it, I can just binge right through this series as well, or at least as close to binging as one can with juggling library books becoming available. But just in case you do need an introduction, this is an urban fantasy Asian-inspired book where we are following a crime family who deals in jade, which is the form of magic in this world. I believe it's like a substance that people take, only some people can take it, only works for some people, and it like gives them heightened something. Now, the one thing that makes me slightly nervous about this series is that it takes place over a huge span of time. Apparently, even the second book, Jade War, actually takes place over the course of 10 years or something. So I don't know if I will love it that I get to see these characters at such drastic different ages over the course of the series, or if I will feel like I'm missing out on moments in their lives that aren't covered in the books. We'll see. It's an interesting way to do a series though. Then we have The Boneshard Daughter by Andrea Stewart. I did talk about this book in a video that I did recently and said that it was going to be one of my priority books for this year. So now I have to follow through on that. And my library hold says I have 8 weeks, so I don't know that I will necessarily get to this immediately, but hopefully sometime in the next 2 months I will be able to pick up this book. This is a book that didn't interest me at all when I first heard about it, when I first started watching BookTube, but towards the end of last year I feel like I kept seeing people casually mention it here and there, and the more that I heard, the more that I wanted to read this book. From what I remember, we are following a main character. We actually might get a couple points of view, but people generally talk about this one character who is the daughter of a king or an emperor, and she has amnesia and does not remember something that has happened, and she is trying to prove herself worthy of following in the footsteps of her father by mastering his bone shard magic. And I think that there is a mystery around, of course, why she has lost all of her memories. I know that the second book came out last year and people were pretty happy with it as far as I could see from people talking about it. Another book I'm thinking about is Age of Assassins by R.J. Barker, and this is the first book in the Wounded Kingdom series. I began to see this book casually mentioned here and there last year, maybe a little bit the year before, but as I expanded the amount of channels that I watched, or as I was looking for other BookTube channels that had similar tastes to me, I continued to see this book show up more and more. And that made me all the more interested to check this book out. So this book was already on my radar and already on this list and at hold of the library when I saw its character work likened to Robin Hobb and the live ship series the other day, and that really got me excited. I don't know much about this series except for that we follow an assassin's apprentice, but I've heard it's very different from Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb, and that this character's mentor is actually a woman, which is awesome. The one thing though is that I'm thinking about maybe saving this book for later, and that's because I am kind of thinking about doing another read along, or maybe just like a short readathon in like April that might be assassin related. I don't know. Let me know if you would be interested in that, like a short one, like a week, maybe 2 weeks. Then we have Traitor's Blade by Sebastian de Castell. I just talked about this book again in that video. I think the one I'm talking about is the tag video that I did, the New Year tag. I also said that Taylor had read it, and she informed me today that she has not read it yet, but that she wanted to. So totally misremembering. I'm misrepresenting Taylor here. She has not read Traitor's Blade, but she intends to. As do I. So this is the first book in the Greatcoat series, which I hear talked about quite a bit. I am hearing very mixed things. It sounds like this is a series that people either really, really love or just don't like at all. So I am curious to see where I will fall on that spectrum. I don't know much about this series, to be honest, other than that it is sort of, what are those called? Three Musketeers-esque vibe, which, I don't know, could be fun. I've heard great friendships. I've heard great character work. We shall see. Then we have Among Thieves by MJ Kuhn. I have been looking back on my anticipated releases video for like the second half of 2021 to see if I read all of those books. Let me know if that's a video you want to see. There's quite a few books that I haven't read. Some of them I've decided like, yeah, I'm not actually interested in that. This one is one that keeps popping up at the library. I keep having to hit postpone. I think it is new adult or like crossover. I don't know if it's officially YA, but I saw some reviews that said that it like sort of felt like that, and the comps I believe were Six of Crows. It says, a high stakes heist novel set in a gritty world of magic and malice. In just over a year's time, Maria Catella has already earned herself a reputation as the quickest, deadliest blade in the dockside city of Kerouac. For the past 6 years, a deadly secret has kept her in hiding, running from town to town, doing whatever it takes to stay one step ahead of the formidable guild master. Forced to team up with a crew of assorted miscreants, smugglers, and thieves, Rhea must plan her next moves very carefully. If she succeeds, her freedom is won once and for all, but unfortunately for Rhea, her new allies are nearly as selfish as she is, and they all have plans of their own. I just am not sure with the comps here. Like, if it is YA, I'm honestly just not in the mood for that right now, but I could be up for like a fun, dark, gritty, morally gray kind of a situation if it read a little bit older. If you've read it, let me know where it falls on that spectrum, and I think maybe I'll just kind of keep an eye on this and read the sample chapter to see what kind of a feel it is. One thing that I mentioned on my reading goals is that I was going to, as I said, be more intentional, but also have like a running list of books from other genres for when I feel in the mood to read romance. I don't pick up random crappy ones, but I actually go in with a plan and have romance books that I've heard really good things about so that I can read when I'm in the mood for that. So the next couple books are romance ones, and these are books that I just am going to save in the background, have handy, so that when I'm in the mood to pick up romance, I will go to these books instead of other ones that I know nothing about. So on that note, one of the books that I have ready here is 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. This book I honestly did not realize was romance until it showed up on the Goodreads romance category for books of the year, whatever, last year. And Chandler Ainsley said really good things about it, so I am intrigued. The synopsis also sounds really good. This story follows two authors, one erotica and one an award-winning literary author, and they meet at a literary event in New York in June. But a long time ago, when they were quite young, they spent a week madly in love, and they have not seen each other since, but they have been secretly writing messages to each other in their books this whole time. And the book follows the week after they reconnect in New York. So I do like a good second chance at romance. I have no idea what level of like spice smut content this is, but it sounds really steamy and not necessarily in like a smutty way, in like a sexual tension kind of a way. I also have Hookline and Sinker by Tessa Bailey on my like, if I need a romance, get to this one, although this one doesn't come out until March 1st. And this is the companion book to It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey that I read and loved last year. Anyway, it follows the main character from It Happened One Summer, her sister, and the guy from It Happened One Summer, his best friend. We do meet those two characters. It's clear that there's like something there, and this is their story. I saw really good advanced reviews, so definitely if I can get a copy of that sometime in early March, I would love to. The last one here I am unsure of, but I can't get it off my mind, and this is because somebody that I follow on Instagram loves this book. It's her favorite book or series, and she posts about it all the time. And this is Addicted to You by Krista and Becca Ritchie. This is a dark romance though, and I don't really read dark romance, or at least I haven't really read dark romance. I'm honestly not sure if that is the genre in romance for me. I've been worried that I will be upset about like problematic things. So in this book, we follow two best friends, both who are struggling with addiction and have been for a really long time. The guy has an alcohol addiction and the woman actually has a sex addiction. And the two have been pretending to be in a relationship for 3 years to help each other cover up for the other's addiction. Sounds dark. I have heard that the representation of the addiction component for both cases is very good, but again, I'm worried that this might be more traumatizing. I don't know. I don't have any experience that I can think of with dark romance, so let me know if you think that I will be okay with that, or if I should read this series, or if you're like, no, Kristen, you're gonna hate that, if you've even heard of this. I don't know. Let me know. She keeps posting about it, and I'm just getting suckered into it, I think. So I'm not immediately reading it. I did put it on hold at the library, but it's a huge hold, so I don't think I'll be able to get to it anytime soon anyway. But should I read it in the first place? That's the real question. But it's on my eye, it's on my radar. Okay, and the last two books, you're gonna think that I'm ridiculous if you didn't watch my New Year tag video. You will have no context for why I'm including these books, but trust, there is a reason. The first is Breath by James Nestor, and this is a nonfiction book. One of the genres I'm going to try to read more this year is nonfiction, and you guys know it's a running joke here that I don't finish nonfiction books, but my plan isn't to just sit down and try to read them. I'm going to use the nonfiction books as a book that I have on the go for a really long time that I can pick up in between books to read when I am in the mood to read, but not in the mood to dive into a new like world and setting. And this is to prevent me from reading trash romance that I didn't enjoy last year that I read a ton of. And so here we have Breath, The New Science of a Lost Art by James Nestor. This is a very popular nonfiction book. It has a huge hold. I think it was like 15 weeks. So I'm not going to be able to get this book anytime soon, but it is a nonfiction book that I am really, really interested in. This is the kind of nonfiction book that I am more interested in, things that are applicable to me and what I do and that sort of thing, like in the health and science sphere. So this is something that I actually am very, very interested in. I would really like to obtain this information so that I can have it personally as well as use it in various elements of my work life. But because that is such a long hold, I also was going to put this book on my radar as well, which I have had for a couple years now. This is The Yoga of the Subtle Body by T.S. Little. For those of you who don't know, I am a yoga teacher currently, and I also have a background in holistic medicine. And I'm hoping that this book will help me to bridge my experience and knowledge of like Eastern medical concepts and philosophy and awareness and stuff like that of the body, along with yoga specifically, and helping me to integrate that into a yoga practice and my teaching. Okay, those are all of the books that I have on my radar. Let me know if you have any of these books on your radar, or if you're joining along with our read along for the Lady Trent series. Let me know. I'm excited to get that started in a couple weeks, soon. Let me know a book that is currently on your radar, one that you just keep hearing about and are kind of ruminating, thinking about possibly getting to, or if you just want to let me know that you're still here, that you made it to the end of the video, put a heart emoji, any heart emoji you like, any color, we'll go with that today. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. I post videos on every Monday and Thursday, and I will see you in my next video, everyone.